All right, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator, everybody. This is Mike November Whiskey coming to you from Shanghai, China, at Zulu Sierra Papa Delta. We are flying the EVA 9084 tonight on our way to Seoul, Korea. So you may be wondering, why are we at a Chinese airport heading to a South Korean airport in a Taiwanese livery? Well, I neglected to fly the Taiwanese livery out of Taiwan on our way to Shanghai, so I figured we should make up for it and fly the EVA tonight on the way to Seoul. Um, and we have the custom scenery here for Zulu Sierra Papa Delta. It looks absolutely stunning. We should get a good view of it on the way out. Um, but there'll be plenty to chat about tonight. So the big news of the day is the fly-by-wire team has finally released VNAV into the A320 model, which means for the first time we should have full vertical navigation on our departure and on our arrival. This means we'll have top of climb, top of descent, as well as incremental step climbs on our departure and I guess step descents on our arrival, all the way through. So it should be the most automated flight we've ever done in the A320, and I'm really excited to check it out. We also have a new NVIDIA driver trying tonight. We're trying some new CPU overclocking optimizations to get better frame rates. There's just a lot to talk through, and we'll get to all of it when we're in the air. But for now, we'll go ahead and get into our cockpit. All right, so we're in a cold and dark state, and as per usual, we will first turn on our batteries and connect to external power. Now let's go through our initial flows to get everything nice and ready. Nav and logo lights come on to signal to the ground that we're on board. Get integrated lights on nice and bright. No smoking to auto. Emergency exit lights are armed. We'll keep seatbelt signs off and pumps off while we refuel, just for safety purposes. Crew supply can come on, ground control on. We can start aligning our IRSs. Next up, we want to start the APU so we can start the boarding process. So first we'll need to go through our fire tests. And cargo smoke. All good. And everything else looks fine for the overhead for now, but we'll come back to finish setup once refueling is complete. Next, let's get our displays ready. Get the brightness up nice and bright. It's a nice sunny day here in Shanghai. Change our glare shield, make sure we are on hectopascals, turn on constraints, and we'll program the glare shield once we're nice and ready when we're briefing our departure. And for now, we'll go ahead and turn off the co-pilot flight director and turn down his screens, since we are flying solo tonight. Let's get the ECAM displays brightened up. Looks like we have about 6 minutes to align the IRSs, and everything else looks good. We have the parking brake engaged, TCAS on standby. The clock is correct, it's 20 past Zulu just about. Landing gear is indicating down, the lever is down, anti-skid is on, brake pressure confirmed, cockpit oxygen looks good, oil quantity looks good, and hydraulic fluid is nice and full. And we'll go over to the APU page. We forgot to turn it on. So master switch on, 1, 2, 3, and we'll let that spool up while we continue our flows. Flap open, and yep, looks like it's starting up now. So coming down here, we are on VATSIM tonight. There is no ATC coverage here in Shanghai, so we are transmitting on Unicom 122.8. Weather system is off, predictive wind shear system is off. We're on standby on ATC and TCAS, and we're going to squawk 7000 until we get assigned another squawk code if we do get ATC coverage. We'll get the integrated panel lights on here. Engine masters are off, engine mode is set to normal. And coming down here, cockpit doors open, speed brakes are retracted and disarmed. Flaps are up, rudder trim is reset, and parking brake is on. That all checks out. Alright, coming over to our flypad, let's get this up and running. And while that's loading up, let's check the TCAS, sorry, the ECAM APU is available. So we can go ahead and turn on the APU bleed and get boarding started. So let's hop in to our weights and balance page. And let's send a request to SimBrief. There we go. 169 passengers tonight. And it looks like we do have cargo, and that I think is just accounting for baggage weight, because in the latest build of the experimental version, we have now actually separated passenger weight from baggage weight. Nice little detail there. So we'll start boarding. And let's come back to the flight pad. We'll pull in our plan from SimBrief. There it is. We'll quickly brief our weather here. So at 0 Zulu, which is the most recent, we have winds out of 140 at 10 knots. We're just doubling meters per second to estimate knots. Cav okay, so good weather. 11 degrees, QNH is 1019, no significant weather. Let's put in 1019 into our glare shield there. Awesome. All right, next up, let us brief our operating flight plan, make sure this all looks good. We are EVA 9084 tonight. We are heading from Shanghai to Seoul, Romeo Kilo Sierra India. We're going forward an hour. We're in the fly-by-wire A32NX, leave engines, looks good. And alternate is Romeo Kilo Juliet Kilo, flight number EVA 9084, cost index is 10. This is from the latest fly-by-wire profile, so this should be more accurate in terms of fuel consumption. And is a more efficient setting for cost index, so it'll probably slow us down, but that's fine. Flight level 390 tonight at the very top. Triple pause 35,000, so it's lower than we've experienced until recently. And trip wind and us tailwind of 13 knots, which should speed us up a little bit. We should expect turbulence around Mach-Saw, maxing out at a shear rate of 4.5. But that's not a terrible shear rate, but it is definitely a bumpy one. We're looking at a block time of an hour and 45 minutes, but an in-air time of an hour and 40, and that delta has reduced probably because our cost index has dropped. We're expecting runway 17 left tonight, and we're flying the LAM 81 Delta departure. And we'll brief our arrival when we're in the air and we have the latest weather. But let's just double check that 17 left makes sense given the METAR information we have. And it does, since the winds are coming out of 140. So that all looks good. All right, what else should we check? The fuel. Well, let's just preview the weather in Seoul. It's just a bit cooler, but it looks like the weather's good there as well. So we shouldn't need any extra fuel for weather-related circumstances. So we're looking at a block fuel of 5824. And I guess that's largely because our alternate is nice and close, according to this. We'll look at the maps at the bottom real quick. But that is 5824 block, is that right? Yes. Pump that in here. 3-minute refuel, nice and quick. Back to the operating flight plan, looking down here. So we're expecting a top of climb past Lehman, and then a top of descent past Ullman, and we'll check that out with what the VNAV calculates for us. All right, what else do we want to check? Let's check the weather at Incheon, see if there's anything coming up that we should be aware of. Again, weather right now looks good, it's just cool. Let's see, winds are moderate. High enough ceilings. Yep, I see no weather in the forecast that should interact with our flight today, so that is fine. And let's just come down here to our maps. Lots of data in this OFPA. But there we go, we have some maps rendered here. That's our routing today, going over the ocean, but we'll be cutting over to the peninsula fairly quickly. Significant weather systems. Winds. And vertical profile. And there's our tropopause estimate, I believe. Interesting how that just dynamically changes. And then the terrain estimates. Very cool. That all looks good. So let's get our charts organized. Open up Navigraph. I might have to start using the desktop version because I'm finding the latest version of the integrated Navigraph mod is slowing things down a little bit. All right, let's load up our flight here. And there it is. Let's pull up our charts. So taxi charts, let's get this airport loaded up. We are at stand 84. And we're expecting runway 17 left on departure. So we'll get a nice taxi to 17 left. And I think we just saw a plane come in on 17 left, which is nice. We're expecting the LAM 81 Delta departure. Let's take a look at this. So LAM 81, there's the routing. Transition altitude is about 10,000 feet, give or take. Have some RADNAVs that we can program in if we'd like. And then there's the LAM 81 Delta, so looks like initial climb out will be 3,000 feet, so we'll get that into the glare shield. But if VNAV is working, we can try clearing ourselves all the way up to cruise altitude of 39,000. All right, and then there is a speed restriction, but we'll stick to that automatically under 10,000 feet. And the next altitude restriction is between 9,000 and roughly 14,000 feet. So we can climb out, let's say, to 12,000 once we pass the Shuyan VOR. And then once we're past Papa Delta 304, we can clear ourselves to 39,000. Excellent. I'll be very curious to see if our VNAV integration will just fly that for us. Okay. Last thing I want to do is look at the approach plate for 17 left in case we need to come back in. Oh, and I'm super curious if we can do RNAV approaches. We should definitely try it. So yeah, we'll check that out once we're in the air, but if we can brief a and actually fly an RNAV approach, oof, that will be a game changer. All right, so looking at this, we'll go ahead and do our emergency briefing real quick. So if there's an issue between here and the runway, we'll bring the airplane to a complete stop. We'll notify ATC if they're available of the issue. We'll clear any ECAM messages and then decide whether we can continue with our departure or we need to return to the stand. If there's an issue on takeoff roll below 100 knots or V1, I'll either call stop or go. If I call stop, we'll bring the airplane to a complete stop, notify ATC, clear any ECAM messages as required, and either remain on the runway for assistance or make our way back to the stand. If there is an issue after V1, we'll commit to takeoff. We'll take no further action until 400 feet AGL, except for silencing any oral warnings and gear up. And at that point, we will fly the missed approach procedure, climbing straight ahead to 460 feet and then turn right on track 198 to 990 feet, then turn right again to Papa Delta Lima VOR at 2960 and hold there. And at that point we will clear any ECAM messages, clean up, ensure securing of the engines, and make a determination whether we need to return to the airport or if we can continue on our routing. And that is the plan. All right. So with that, refueling is complete. So we can go ahead and turn on the fuel pumps. Turn on the seatbelt signs. And let's do our before start checklist to the line. So cockpit prep is complete, fuel message is sent, gear piston covers will be removed when we call the tug. Signs are on or auto, we'll get strobes auto at this point. IRSs are on nav, fuel quantity is set. And you know what? We're doing the checklist before we even set up the box. So sorry about that. First things first, let's set up the box. So IRSs are all set to nav. AC status, we have the latest ARAC cycle. This will be updated tomorrow, and the LEAP engines are correctly reflected. Heading to init A, let's submit our init request. Get our sim brief flight plan loaded. And yes, Shanghai to Seoul, alternate is Romeo Kilo Juliet Kilo. We are EVA 9084. Triple pause, that looks pretty close. 35247, that's what I'll put in. And flight level 390 cost index is 10 tonight. Heading to our flight plan. Let's put in our departure runway 17 left. Let's just double confirm that. One 7 left. And the LAM 81 Delta departure. And insert. Alright, it looks like we have partial VNAV values, perhaps? Interesting. Interesting. Let me just check something really quick. There was an update available, but the software didn't notify me, so we may not have the right version installed. Alright friends, apologies. I'm going to go on standby. I'm going to quickly get the latest version installed, and then we'll come back and do an accelerated prep. But it'll probably take about 10 minutes to kind of get this up to date. Apologies for that. But yeah, we'll see you in a little bit. Alright, we are back on. Apologies for the technical challenges there, but we have the right version loaded up now, and we'll go back into the cockpit and do an accelerated startup so we can get the show on the road. So, going with the batteries, external power, overhead lights, nav and logos, no smoking and emergency exits, crew supply, ground control, IRSs are coming on. We'll assume the fire tests are done and successful, and we'll get that APU started. 1, 2, and 3. Starting that up. Continuing with our initial setup flows. The danger with doing it quickly is that I'm likely to forget something, but let's hope not. Hectopascals, constraints. Get this nice and lighted up. Flight director off, and get these screens powered down, because we don't need them. ECAMs are coming online. 7 minutes on the IRS. APU is coming up. Landing gears indicated down, anti-skid is on, time is correct, gear lever is down, brake pressure confirmed. And that APU is almost ready to go. APU is available, so let's get the bleed on and get folks on board. Hang to weights and balances, requesting from SimBrief. There it is, 169 passengers, and we have cargo because we now have luggage weight in the latest version of the fly-by-wire experimental. Alright, so folks are boarding. Coming back to our initial flows, cockpit oxygen is good. Oil quantity is nice and high, and hydraulic fluid is nice and full. Alright, we're on Unicom on the VATSIM network. Thrust levers are in idle and functional. Get these integrated lights on as well. Weather system and predicted winter systems off, engine masters are off, engine mode is set to normal. We're going to squawk 7000, ATC and TCAS is on standby. Hey Young Tex, how's it going? Good to see you. I have been well, and I'm excited for this flight because there's a lot going on with the fly-by-wire that we'll get into once things are set up. Okay, ground spoilers are retracted and disarmed, flaps are up, rudder trim is reset, parking brake is on. Hey Rasco, what's going on? Oh, good to see you guys online tonight. Alright, so that is all good. Let's go to the flight pad. We had some technical issues. We've been online for a while, but had to reset the sim, unfortunately. So I'm trying to get back to where we were. Alright, weather looks good. We checked the weather. Weather's fine. Let's get fuel on board. 5824. We were fine with that before, and we're fine with that now. Well, congratulations on the promotion, and I'm sorry it's driving you nuts. Is that like a net wash? But seriously, congrats on the promotion. That's usually an awesome thing. All right, shear rates we saw. Okay, that's all good. Let's get our charts back up. Alright, there's our routing tonight on our way to Seoul. Nice little dog leg. Runway 17 left, and our charts are still here. That's perfect. That is all good. So let's go back to the box. Hopefully by the time we get to init B, which is actually where we left off, boarding will be complete. But double checking, IRSs are still aligning, because we're running through this real quick. I could force align, but it's only 3 more minutes, so we'll check that later. Latest AirX cycle is good. Leap engines are good. Init A, init request. We're still in Shanghai. We're still going to Seoul. Romeo Kilo, Juliet Kilo is still our alternates. Let's get that tropopause in there. 35247. 35247. That's a nice average for the flight. Cost index is 10, so a little less efficient with the new... Yeah, VNAV is working. Indeed. And that's what we're hoping to test tonight.
Boarding completed.
Boarding's complete. Nice and quick. Alright, flight level 390 tonight, Austin, Texas 10. That's all good. Here's the flight plan. We are on 17 left tonight, and we're flying the LAM 81 Delta, is that correct? LAM 81 Delta, that is correct.
Ladies and
Wow.
gentlemen, flight deck. On behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to see final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, nice. I need to show myself how to use it. But Young Techs, well, 16 people as a new manager. That I've never. I'm a manager myself, but I've never managed 16. That's a lot of direct reports. Are they all reporting to you, or is it like tiered? Do you have like managers beneath you? All right, so the VNAV. This is where I got confused the first time because I would expect kind of hashes to indicate that the altitude restriction carries over the next waypoint. But you know what? We'll see how it flies. There are subtle differences to how this is being displayed. Like I don't remember the magenta slashes. So we'll see. We'll see how it does. Oh, goodness gracious. Apologies, guys. I have a chatbot. I'm preparing for a charity stream next week. But the chatbot is currently active on my OBS. So hold on. Let me shut that down for now. But yeah, that's another update I'll be giving. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Apologies for the chatbot, guys. Hold on. When we're in cruise, I'll explain what's going on there. But I'm pretty excited about it. Shut that down for now. But yeah. Okay, well, at least you have tiers, because 16 directs would just be like, all you'd be doing is writing reviews all the time. IRSs are in line. Okay, so we're fine with this magenta madness. Let's take a look at the plan, just to make sure it makes sense. From what we saw on the charts, initial climb restrictions, let's get that back in the glare shield before I forget, about 3,000 feet. And then nice dog leg there. There's the speed restriction, and then the final altitude restriction before we're kind of clear to go to cruise, and that all looks good. So that matches the chart as I remember it. Oh, QNH 1019. Let's get that in there. Alright, so that's all good. We had a few rad navs to track tonight. Oh, I'm a product manager for a tech company. Let's see. Alright, so we want the Shuyan VOR, so that's X-Ray Sierra Yankee. And we could put in the Pudong VOR as well. Put that VOR too, why not? Alright, that's all good. Heading, and we have the ILS in there if we need to return. So init B, weights and balances. This should be set since boarding is complete and refueling is complete. So 60.1 tons. Does that jive with the... Yes, it does. That is perfect. So we'll load that in. Before I forget, let's get the fuel pumps on. And seatbelt signs are coming on. Alright, so what's next? Block fuel is 5.8 tonight. And we do have a tailwind of 13 knots. Let's get the rest of our fuel information in there as well. So we have a contingency of 0.5, an alternate of 0.8, and a fin res of 0.9. So 0.5, 0.8 and 0.9. That looks good. And that gives us 9 minutes of extra fuel, and I am fine with that. All right. Does fuel prediction page work yet? No, it does not. That's where I usually got my center of gravity, but we'll use 24.7 as a proxy because now it's time to do performance calcs. We all know I love performance calculations. So if you're not familiar with the flex takeoff, it's a way to perform a takeoff with less than full power, and it's a way to save maintenance and strain on the engines because you don't need to go to full thrust all the time. So it takes into account factors like runway length and weather conditions and weights to ensure that you can take a less than 100% thrust takeoff. And I have an Excel sheet that I use that calculates this approximately. Airbus keeps us pretty close to the chest, so all we can do really is guess based on what we hear from pilots. And I believe EasyJet SimPilot is working on a one that's designed for the fly-by-wire mod, which hopefully will be amazing once he releases it. Elevation of the runway is 10 feet. Length is 4,000 meters, nice and long, so we'll definitely be able to flex. Winds, let's check our weather again. Winds are 140, 10 knots. It's meters per second because we're in China, but you just double it to convert it to knots. So 140, 10 knots. Outside air temperature is 13 degrees. QNH is still, oh, it's 1020 now, so let's adjust that. 1020. And takeoff weights from our OFP TOW, there it is, 66 tons. We'll do configuration 1. We'll have the packs off for a bit of an extra performance boost, and we'll assume 24.7 is the takeoff center of gravity. It's not, but the fuel prediction page doesn't work at the moment on the ground. Alright, so that's giving us flex values. So going back to performance, we'll be doing a flap 1, and per the calculator the trim will be 0.8 up. Flex to temp, which is what we use to set reduced thrust, is 67 degrees according to the calculator. Transition altitude is correct from what I checked. Thrust reduction, acceleration altitude, and engine acceleration altitude is also correct because we are 10 feet above the ground currently, and this is set to 1,500 feet above that. And V speeds, V1, which is our decision speed, is 152. Rotation speed is 153, and our V2 is also 153 in case there's an engine out. So nice and high speeds, and we'll use a lot of the runway to get up to that takeoff speed. So that's the calculation. Alright, and hopefully when that calculator gets released, the one that I mentioned, I'll be able to show it on the screen so you can actually see what the parameters look like. But that's what the output looks like. Alright, so I think we are almost ready for start and push. Let's just brief our routing to the runway. We'll come down here to Tango 4, and we'll bang a right on to, let's go down Bravo. We'll go down Bravo all the way to Bravo 8, just to keep it simple. So Tango 4, Bravo to Bravo 8 hold point. Alright. So now, let's do our before start checklist to the line. So cockpit prep is complete. Fuel messages sent. Gear press and covers will be removed when we call the tug. Signs are on or auto. IRSs are on nav. Fuel quantity is set at 5.8. Takeoff data is set and bow ref is set. Alright, let's get that tug called. We have the new toolbar pushback. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this yet either, but you can actually pre-plan the pushback and it will automate it for you, so you don't have to leave the cockpit and steer it with your rudders anymore. It just follows a track that you program. So here we are at stand, and I'll zoom out a little bit. And well, there's no. Oh, I see. This is the guide here. So that's the taxi center line. So we can orient the plane in this direction, and we'll push back to roughly here. Yeah, that looks good. So we'll click the waypoint, hit enter to lock it in, and now let's request pushback.
Cockpit to ground.
This is ground. Stand by.
All right, there goes the jetway and baggage and all that stuff. We can get off external power since we're on the APU.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed and all ground equipment is removed.
The parking brakes are set. You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
A quick look outside.
We are cleared
Make
for
sure the
starting
cargo door
push.
closes. There we go.
Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
All right, we're releasing the parking brake.
Parking brakes are released.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
All right, set timer to run. We'll get engine mode to ignition. Bleeds are on. Engine 2, start. I don't need to watch the tug. It's just going to do its thing and get me to where I want to be all on its own.
Flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check.
Oh, MB944, thanks for the follow. Apologies for missing it, but yeah, appreciate the follow, my friend. All right, so N1's increasing. Ignition comes off at around 12% N1, which it did. Alright, engine 2 is available, engine 1 start. And look at that. That's a pretty perfect pushback. Like right on the line. Look at that.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Ground. You may disconnect.
Roger. Good engine start. Cleared to disconnect. See you at the side. Have a good flight.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Alright, get that out of the way.
All exits are clearly marked with a sign overhead. If necessary, floor level lighting will illuminate the top of my exit. Please take a moment now to locate your closest exit and remember a baby behind you. If there is a change in cabin pressure, floor oxygen mask will drop from overhead. Firmly pull the mask towards you to start the flow of oxygen. Place the mask over your nose and mouth, pull the elastic bands around your head, and tighten the straps on both sides. Even though the bag may not oscillate, oxygen will be flowing.
Alright. Engines are available. The APU bleed can come off. APU master can come off. And let's configure for takeoff. So flaps to flaps 1. Arm the ground spoilers. ATC to auto. And let's do our after start checklist. Anti-ice is not required. ECAM status is checked. Set engine mode to normal. There we go. Pitch trim. We'll set that next. I believe it was up 0.8. So flight control page 0.8. And rudder trim is set to 0. Excellent. So we'll do a quick flight control test. Full left, full right, full forward, full back, neutral. Rudder disconnect, full left, full right. Alright, that all looks good. So let's go ahead and taxi. Brake and brake off, applying some power. Alright, and this is the first signal that VNAV is working. I don't know what the blue line stands for. That might be top of climb or when we anticipate getting to 3,000 feet. Let's see, if I change that to 4, will it move? 4 or 5? Yep, it does. So it's calculating when we're going to get to that altitude. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Alright, so what if I go up to 39,000 feet? Will it recognize the constraint? It recognizes the max constraint of 13,800, which is actually correct for the SID. We can fly to that altitude as soon as possible. If you're not sure what I'm referring to, I'm looking at this number right here. So if we stay in managed altitude mode, I shouldn't have to touch the autopilot until we get to cruise. So let's give that a shot. This is like the real VNAV test. Alright, set auto brake to max. When we get closer to the runway, we'll do our weather systems. And we'll check out this beautiful custom Shanghai scenery on the way out. This is a gorgeous airport. Absolutely massive. Alright, we're coming up on Tango. Slow down to below 10 knots. And begin our turn. Take it nice and easy. Hey Rasco, how's it going? Have you tried the VNAV yet? Alright, this is the coolest tower I think I've ever seen. It's a really cool design. Looks like there's some kind of observation deck here as well. But you've experienced the joy of VNAV and other sims. Yes. We are late to the game over here in the Microsoft Flight Sim world. Although I think the heavy division has VNAV, if I'm not mistaken. But oop. Yeah, definitely getting some frame rate dips at this airport. Alright, so we're looking for Bravo. Yeah. I've kind of like learned to ignore them at this point. Because I mean, even this fuel truck, like this is, we're about to reenact the scene from Speed. Alright, is this Bravo? This is Bravo, so we'll be making this next flight. What I love about this custom scenery is that you can actually read the taxiway signs. So I think that's my biggest gripe with Microsoft Flight Sim right now, is that in the stock airports, just those signs are so unreadable, especially at night. Alright, I'm getting better with this tiller, by the way. That was not a bad turn. Alright, and we're just going to follow this all the way down to Bravo 8. At this point, we'll get weather system, predictive winter system online. That all looks good. I forgot to turn my taxi lights on. That's okay. Here's another car. Hello. I think if you notice, I think a lot of these vehicles are actually custom with the scenery. I think. I can't tell if it's just tailing me, avoiding me, what's going on there. We can clip inside. Oh, that's fun. Nice and shiny. Alright, sorry, getting distracted. Just massive terminal buildings. Look at that. Absolutely crazy. Get those VORs online. Alright, call the cabin crew. Do a big test. Do before takeoff checklist to the line. Flight controls are checked, flight instruments are checked, briefing is confirmed, flap settings are set to 1. Packs, oh no, sorry, wrong checklist. V speeds and flex temp are set. 75% thrust on this takeoff. ATC is set, ECAM memo, takeoff, no blue. Alright, finally reached the end of the terminal there. Bravo 7, so it'll be the next left. I think we are 65 tons, give or take. What did I put in the calculator? 66 tons for takeoff weight. That flex sound right to you? Yeah, the V-speeds do seem high. The calculator is definitely not perfect. The calculator I have gave me a flex temp of 67. But I'm thinking it's compensating for the fact that the runway is like 4 kilometers long. Alright, let's do our power preps here, get the landing lights on, light up like a Christmas tree, get strobes to on at this point. ATC to on, TCAS coming on.
Please prepare for takeoff.
And let's do our before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway is confirmed, we're at 17 left. Cabin crews advised, TCAS is on TAR range and mode is normal, packs are coming off. Alright, before takeoff checklist completes. Shanghai traffic, EVA and 9084, ready for takeoff, runway 17 left. Shanghai traffic. Let's roll. We had a few arrivals and departures on VATSIM while we were in pre-flight, but I think it's pretty quiet right now. A little aggressive on the tiller there. Apologies. Alright, take off. Thrust to 50%. And stable. And flex SRS runway. Knots. rotate. Positive rate, gear up.
Traffic, traffic.
What? Where? Alright, going down a thrust climb. Those packs back online. Let's activate that autopilot, get that VNAV going. Really? Yeah, that damn fuel truck. Spoilers, sorry, flaps up, spoilers disarmed. Check VATSIM real quick to see if there actually was traffic. Yeah, there's a plane at stand, but no factor for us. Alright, 250 knots, we have a magenta altitude, continuing to climb. Take a quick look outside. See Shanghai Metro. Beautiful day. Alright, let's get a more expanded view. So, interesting. So we have a magenta arrow here that's going to indicate our constraint top of climb. We have another blue arrow here, which I wonder means like release of constraint, perhaps? And then, if we zoom out far enough, we'll calculate our actual top of descent. Top of climb. Yeah, I think there. After sadly. That's so cool. That is so very cool. And does that jive with our flight plan? So, flight plan has us reaching it before, sadly, but maybe SimBrief isn't taking into account climb restrictions on the SID. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem to take it into account on their top of descent calculation, but regardless, that is pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. Oh, let's go standard QNH. And 10,000 feet, landing lights are coming off. And we'll keep the constraints on just so we can continue to watch it once we're through the SID. Gorgeous. And that's our magenta dot for the speed restriction, because we're above 10,000 feet, but we're still restricted by the SID. Speed, all constraints. Now the VNAV might be a bit of a resource hog, because I'm definitely getting more stuttering than I'm used to. Alright, we're about to pass. And that speed constraint I would expect to fall away. Still at 250 knots though. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. It just updated. Somehow we came 0.6 miles off course there, but it's correcting. I mean, for a feature that was just released today, I'm pretty impressed by this. And then when we cross this next waypoint, we should just continue climbing all the way to 39,000. Yeah, so I guess that blue line is when we resume climb mode. That's very cool, very intuitive. The magenta line seems to just keep coming up here and there. There we go, and now we're on unrestricted climb. So now when controllers say climb or descend via the SID or star, manage altitude. That's what you do. You just hit the button. Don't worry about it. It's amazing. I didn't realize how much I wanted this feature. Alright, so when we get to our cruise altitude, we'll keep an eye on the time. We'll prep for descent about 40 minutes before estimated time of landing. But we'll have some time to talk about the various other updates to talk about in addition to VNAV. If you end up, did I tell you before, if you end up too high or low? Not sure what you mean, but maybe the best way to answer that is it didn't really tell you anything. Oh, interesting. So like if you miss your top of descent, it would give you some kind of indication that you're tracking too high for arrival. Like before, I had to calculate that manually, and we actually did a test in Taiwan a few flights ago, where I followed the flight plan top of descent, and it completely screwed me. We had to go missed approach, and it was a big deal. But at least I got to practice a missed approach. That was fun. But we were like 4,000 feet too high, and I just couldn't get it down. Couldn't get it down fast enough. In the progress page. While we're here, I'll just put the airport in. Yeah, I'm guessing they haven't put in that feature yet. See what the report says. Oh, interesting. Yeah, hopefully that's a part of the VNAV package. It definitely was not there before. I'm guessing you're flying in X-plane? Oh, hey, let's see. The version I'm flying, give me one sec. Alpha 9.3, yes, I'm flying that version. We can get the VNAV working, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely working for us. We have evidence of it here with the blue line and magenta dot indicating our top of climb. And it managed our SID perfectly. I just had to set our cruise altitude and it kept me within all the constraints automatically. It was actually brilliant. And we'll check to see how it looks when we brief our arrival once we're at cruise. But regardless, welcome to the channel, and hope we can get VNAV working soon enough. Yeah, sometimes it might be good just to kind of clean it up from community folder and just do a fresh install. And do you use the fly-by-wire installer, or do you do it manually? I'm gonna remind myself where the yeah, I use the installer as well. Oh, that's strange. I'm sorry that hasn't worked for you. See where the shear rate is. It looks like it gets worse as we go along. So around Sosdo, Charlie Juliet uniform, maybe we'll start worrying about shakes. Get the seatbelt sign back on. Honestly, it feels very weird. This is the first time I'm flying this and not using the fixes page to calculate top of descent. Like kind of freaking out here a little bit. This ultimately means I'm going to have to think of like more fun content to talk about because there'll just be more idle time. I will check VATSIM again. So, okay, I see Jeju approach is online. Oh, Jeju ground's online, and Jeju approach. We'll be passing over them, but we probably won't need to contact them because we'll be too high. And there's some traffic waiting for us at Seoul. Yeah, so we'll see if we get some coverage. There's a little bit here on the Thursday morning in the Far East. Flame Mountain Engine, thank you. Oh my goodness. It's a very fair point. Although it's also fair to say I'm nervous to do that, even though I'm safe in my basement. But at some point I will do some fun flights like that. Probably not while I'm on VATSIM, but I will do... I do want to explore the failures capabilities a bit. When I fly off stream, I'm doing like a VFR flight with like a Cessna or something like that. I do practice engine failures, which is a lot of fun. Alright, looking at about, let's call it 6 minutes. 6-7 minutes to top of climb. Oh, but now I can say, oh look, 70 miles, and 70 miles will be at our cruising altitude. How fun. Layman. Who else loves waypoint names? On our way into Taipei the other night, one of the approach waypoints was Putin. P-U-T-I-N. I shit you not. In Taiwan, of all places. Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, leave it to X-Plane to kind of give that level of realism. Can you have it set to be, like, reflective of real-world incidents? So let's say, just to throw out an example, like in a Cessna 172, there's a 0.05% probability of engine failure. Like, can you program that in, and then if you fly enough, you'll just experience one? Or is it more just like a time randomizer? Oh, that's very cool. So they actually simulate whether or not you're doing maintenance on your planes. That is very cool. Yeah, because it would be a function of like flight time or hours since last annual or something like that. That makes sense. Yeah, that is next level simulation for sure. I've just been lured in by the pretty visuals. We'll see what happens when X-Plane 2 finally comes out. We're cruising at our limit at 39,000. That was what SimBrief had in store for us tonight. And let's see if that actually makes sense. Let's look at the... Yeah, it seems to be the optimum tailwinds. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done 39,000. We've been averaging between 36,000, 38,000. Although, let me check the latest SimBrief, because, you know, Fly-by-Wire updated their SimBrief profile for the A320. So let me look at the parameters they used. Yeah, they have a service ceiling of 39,800. I think that's about right. And what's interesting here, let's take a closer look. The top of cruise has been changing, probably as our climb performance has decreased. Because look at this tailwind we have right now. That's insane. Wait a minute. Hold up. Yeah, holy shit. For some reason when I was looking at these, I was just looking for the highest number. I wasn't actually paying attention to the number itself, but that's crazy. That is crazy. Yes, look at our ground speed. We are flying. Yeah, right? Yeah, tailwinds have a tendency to take lift out of the wings, which kills climb performance. It's great for ground speed, but if you want to get up quickly, it sucks. But now this is the other interesting thing. So we were like, oh, the VNAV was saying we're going to be at top of climb before, sadly, where the flight plan said it would be sometime after, and maybe SimBrief is smarter than I give it credit for. Maybe it is actually taking into account the tailwind. Oh wait, no, wait a minute. No, sorry, I had it backwards. No, this was predicting top of climb 18 miles before, sadly. So I take that back. But still, not far off. Not far off. Alright, so there is ATC coverage over here, but only approach and ground, so we probably won't interact with them, but maybe we'll get to see traffic on the radar. Let's see. Is anyone at that airport right now? The answer is yes. There's a plane. There's a plane on approach, it looks like. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Keep an eye on that speed. I mean, indicated airspeed is slow. Because we're so damn high. What is the, oh yeah, it is cold. That is pretty cold. Good God. But we are really starting to struggle to get up there. Like, we'll make it, but just barely. Look at that climb rate. I can climb stairs faster than that. Oh, hey KL, if you're still out there, thanks for the follow. For some reason, I'm not getting the audio cues that I usually get. Come on. There we go. There we go. We are at cruise, friends. So let's see the latest estimate of arrival. 26 past the hour. So in 6 minutes, we'll do our descent prep. But between now and then, a couple of updates. Oh, well. I lied. 1 sec.
I do want to remind you to please keep your seat elbows clear from the aisle as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley carts shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating near the front galley where the flight deck door is located. Thank you.
Do I have a fly cam mode? I'm not sure what that is. Oh, fly by cam mode. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what that is, Rasco. Sounds cool. Ah. As the notifications are working, it's just the sounds are not. Oh, yes. I think it does, like, you can do that in the replay mode, which is only available when the developer settings turned on. I haven't played around with it, but the stock ones, they're just like the external. And then there is a drone. But it stays with the plane, it looks like. Oh, it's on follow mode, so what if I just... Oh, there we go. Bye. Yeah, so it does. The answer is yes. It does have a flyby mode. That was a really fun way to try that out. Let's see. And... bye. That's fun. That's fun. Well, thanks, Rascal. Because of you, I now know that exists. Alright. So, the fun stuff I wanted to share before we have to start our brief. So, right now we're trying... We'll start from least fun to most fun. Right now I'm trying a new CPU overclock using a Ryzen tuner by a Ukrainian developer. I believe he's Ukrainian. It goes by the handle 1usmus. He's created a ton of awesome utilities for Ryzen systems, including a DRAM calculator, the CPU tuner. He has one for Zen 4, which is pretty awesome. Zen 3 rather, and we're testing it out tonight. I'm definitely getting higher performance from the CPU, but it's not really translating into frames because I think I'm still GPU bottlenecked on this, even though I'm running a 3080 Ti. Speaking of which, we're also running the latest NVIDIA drivers tonight. Nothing specific to MSFS on this latest update, but at least I'm not seeing frame rate drops, which would be unfortunate. Does seem to be some... Oh, hey. Hey, Raz, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Where was I going? Okay, so that's all the performance stuff. I think the VNAV is definitely having a performance impact over the previous experimental version. I'm probably getting like maybe 4 or 5 frames less than I'd expect, but not too bad. So that's all the performance stuff I wanted to kind of chat through. The other exciting thing is I got a spot on the Cross the Pond lottery. So the Cross the Pond VATSIM event is a week from Saturday, April 2nd. It's the westbound event, so European and European adjacent departures heading to North American arrivals. There'll be 12 plus hours of HC coverage. There'll be 1,000 pilots participating across all simulators as long as you're on the VATSIM network. And I got an awesome slot. I'll be flying from Amsterdam to Boston. And I'll be taking off at, I think, like 11:15 Zulu on April 2nd. And we'll be doing the full kind of transatlantic flight, oceanic procedures, full ATC coverage, all that. And I'll be flying, the A320neo doesn't have the range to do Amsterdam to Boston, at least not realistically. So I will be flying the stock 78710 in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I'll be using the heavy division mod. It's not as robust as the fly-by-wire mod, but it does add a lot more realism, things like SimBrief integration. So we'll be able to have a relatively realistic flight. But the fun part about that is that we'll just have ATC coverage the whole time. And we'll be following oceanic procedures and getting oceanic clearances, and it'll be fun. And also there'll be like 1,000 other pilots doing it. So I also thought I'd take that opportunity to do something for the world. And OBS Streamlabs, which is the streaming platform I use, has a really awesome charity integration. And you can use their platform to encourage folks to donate to various charities. And what's great about their platform is that they take none of the money. They funnel 100% of donations to the charity of choice. And I've decided to support a charity that is working to bring medical supplies to people affected by the Ukrainian war. So I'll be supporting Project Hope. I'll be holding a few streams next week, some practice runs to get used to the Boeing, since I've been flying the Airbus so much I have no idea how to fly a Boeing, and I want to make sure I'm prepared. So we'll use those streams to kind of spread awareness about the fundraiser. But then when Cross the Pond actually hits and I'll be online for about 8 hours, we'll try to raise some money for a good cause. But feel free to join. You have no obligation to contribute. Honestly, if you just want to come hang out, keep me company while I'm flying across the pond, that's all I really can ask for. So hope to see you there a week from Saturday. Hey Pawpaws, how's it going? How's the VNAV working? It's working pretty well. It's working pretty well. So we set our cruise altitude before takeoff, and I hit autopilot, and it kept me within the constraints all the way up. It predicted our various top of climbs. We have the top of constraint climb, and then the actual cruise altitude top of climb. And in a few minutes, we'll program the big due for our arrival, and we'll get to see how the VNAV works on our descent, which is really where it matters most in my view. All right, so we are less than 40 minutes away. Let's start our arrival brief. So let's take a look at the latest ATIS, or METAR rather, because we don't have ATIS for Seoul. So this came out at 1:30 Zulu. What time is it now? I've very lost track. Oh, that's nice and current. Awesome. So we'll probably just keep this for the rest of the trip in case it gets updated. So winds are 158 knots. Good visibility, high ceilings, temperature is 7 degrees, dew point 3 degrees, QNH is 1020, and no significant weather. Nice and easy. So with winds out of 150, let's just make sure our arrival runway still makes sense. Because it's not high winds, but it's enough that you'd want to make it a headwind if you can. And we're heading 16 left, so that is perfect. So our flight plan is still valid. So let's program in, well first let's brief the charts. Let's brief the charts. Chart charts. Hey, Gui Peralta, nice to see you here. Clear all these. Yes. Charts. Let's get our arrival chart real quick. Here we go, 20-9. Seems to be the standard for the kind of overview. And for runway 16 left, we'll be coming down here. Maybe we'll get off at November 3 or November 2. This is not going to be a custom airport, but looking at this, passenger terminal 1, I would assume is the international one. It looks bigger, so we'll plan to come here. So we'll just take November 2 to November, and make a left on, I guess, Mike 6, and then just pick a stand. Easy. Star. We are flying the Olmen 1 Charlie. Olmen 1 Hotel. Where is one? Here we go. Olmen 1 Charlie. Alright, let's take a look at this. So here's Olmen. We'll want to be at 18,000 feet by Bopke. And then we'll just assume that the VNAV will work and will keep us at these constraints. It'll be great if it does. And that's a long approach. Wow, we'll get a nice tour of the Seoul Metro if we follow the whole thing. And we should. We're testing VNAV tonight, so why not? And we'll end up at Pudong. And then from Pudong, our approach for 16 left. Guys, should we try the RNP approach? Is that crazy? Alright, so where are we going to pick up from? So there's Pudong, Atcon, Ipcol, Rumri, and then straight down to runway 16 left. Let's see how the McDo likes if we how the McDo likes it if we do an RNP approach. The VNAV is truly working. It should be fine. So let's head to the flight plan. I'm going to pin both that and the ILS just in case. But here's our arrival. Oh, look at all those ILSs that we don't need to use anymore. 16 left. There's the RNAVs. RNAV 16 left. So make sure, and then there's VORs. And okay, just want to make sure there wasn't another option. But RNAV 16 left. No stars available. That's interesting. That is interesting. There should be. We're flying one. Ah, appreciate it, Rasco. But we may have to do the ILS if we want to program in the star. Oh, look at this! No, it looks like the data is not in here because we're not getting runway information for the RNAV for 16. Oh, interesting. And I wonder, that just might be a quirk of the VNAV system. Maybe not all the data is loaded in there properly. Even some of the ILSs are blank. Shit. Yeah, so I think this just might be an experimental build thing, like something they maybe still need to flesh out. Okay, so that's fine. Let's just choose another runway. So it looks like the 15s are good. And they're also nice and long. They're basically, they're a touch shorter than 16 left, but that's fine. So let's do 15 right. Let's do 15 right. Let's do the RNAV for 15 right. Well, we have to choose a new star though. Alright, let's do this. So for the approaches, 15 right. What are our... So we can do the Ome 1 Charlie, Ome 1 Hotel. Okay. So we can, it looks like we'd still use that star for 15 right, which makes sense. Okay. Not a problem. Alright, so let's get that chart. One 15 right, R and P, and we'll pick an ILS. What is the difference here? I hate when they look so similar. Cat 3 ILS. Right, this one seems to be a bit more restrictive. Alright, so we'll just do the Zulu if we need to, but we'll brief the RNP. Alright, let's try that. RNAV 15 right. Still no stars. Alright, let's try the ILS 15 right. Zulu. Huh. I am a little lost, guys. Oh, it's a longer approach? Oh yeah, you're right. You are right. It does start higher. Interesting. Yeah, the final approach fix is different. Uproar versus Anbog. Okay. Anyway, we still have an issue here, guys. Okay. 15 left seems to work. So this also has a different final approach fix. And this is longer, so let's do that. The Zulu and the RNP. Clean this up a bit. I want... Okay, cool. 15 left, so let's do that. RNAV 15 left. And... oh, fun story, guys. We only have 2 stars available for that. The Eric update wasn't available when I loaded up tonight. I know it's the 24th. But usually I notice Navigraph updates the day after. I'll double check right now to see. Yeah, update is still not available. We're still on Eric cycle 2202. Alright, let's look at this Goot 1 Alpha. Do we have the right chart for that? That's this one. We're not coming from there though. Ah, this is frustrating. Alright, what about the ILS? ILS 15 left Zulu. So yeah, it just seems to be incomplete data. Alright, well, this seems to be the best of bad options, so let's go back to the RNAV. I could always just program it in manually, but then we can't really test the RNAV, can we? Or the VNAV, rather. RNAV 15 left, and we'll do the Gupta 1 alpha, and coming from POSEP, we'll be coming from the other direction. We'll want the Munan transition. Okay. Alright, we'll just go with this. But let's definitely brief the flight plan to see what we've gotten ourselves into. Alright, that's not terrible. You know, it's actually a less complicated approach than the original one, because the original one was actually having us do like a whole flyover. So this is fine. This is fine. We figured it out, guys. We'll make it work. And that must be top of descent. Is it? Was it later before? Alright, let me go back to plan. Let me actually cycle through the waypoints. And maybe the top of descent is sooner depending on... Because I think the initial flight restriction is pretty high. But yeah, we need to be at flight level 180 by CAXO, so that's probably why it wants us to descend sooner. That'd be my guess. Yeah. No. Does that make sense? Because we could be above that if we want. I don't know. Woman. Cookdu. CAXO. And it's subtle, but it looks like the top of descent marker is there. Yeah. At CAXO. Yes, the arrival is simpler, for sure. Okay, so we got through that, we pushed through it, we came out successful. Let's finish the rest of the prep here. So top of descent, nice after Gukdo. Very cool to see that there. Let's look at RadNavs. So we'll be tracking to the Anyang VOR. And then there's the Incheon VOR. So those feel like a good ones to put in. So Sierra Echo Lima. And November, Charlie, November. Oh, whoops. Yep, that close one, that's a good one. November, Charlie, and November. And 115.5, that's correct. Okay. 113.8, that also looks good. Fuel prediction page. Yep, have enough fuel for both our destination and our alternates. Performance, let's get performance information in. Just double check we don't have new weather information. We shouldn't. Yep, that's still current. So 1012 on the QNH. Sorry, 1020 on the QNH. Temperature is 7 degrees, nice and chilly. And finally, winds. 150 at 8 knots. Let's see, if you check performance page, does it tell you info on top of descents? Don't see it. What's our transition level? Flight level 140, so that is correct. Minimums for the RNP approach. 430. For an LNAV VNAV, we can do this, supposedly. So 430 on the Barrow. Oh, interesting. No, it's not there. On the progress page? No. That would be nice information to have. Like, we could check here, like, we'll get their estimated. Well, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Top of descent at 26 UTC, so that must not be working yet either. But let's call it at 231 UTC. Oh, we're getting some bumps as predicted. Yeah, look, there's all of our... Oh shit. Destination estimated fuel on board below minimums? Really? Well, that's a little concerning. So we loaded up 5824, and I had an extra 10 minutes. Based on the calcs. But again, this is using Fly-by-Wire's new sim brief profile for the experimental. Maybe it has some... Good question. Good question. So where are we? We are inbound SAML. Inbound SAML. Where is it? So we should have about 2,500, and we have more than that. So how much should we have at arrival? $1,678, and we're predicting... Oh, I think that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. But I guess it's... The McDo wants us to have more on board. But I do hear the engines kind of spooling up and spooling down. So I wonder, maybe it's struggling to maintain altitude. Maybe the bumps are too much. I'm not sure. There's something going on here. You can see the speed tape kind of bouncing up and down. Okay, I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Alright, I guess we do have about 20 minutes until top of descent. Let's see here. Alright, I think we're good. But that is hella bumpy. Hello, South Korea. I would love to visit this place one day. Yeah, 100 knot crosswind. That's fun. You check out our deflection as a result. So yeah, we're about like 14, 13 degrees deflected to maintain our track. Alright, so for the RNAV approach. Trying to think how this will work in practice. So there we have like the step descents. And there's this limb. I wonder what that is. Any idea what limb represents? Let's see. Oh, it's a speed restriction. So that's when we decelerate to 250 knots. Then a decel point for the approach phase. And it does guide us all the way down to the runway. So I'm assuming when we activate the approach phase, it starts to ignore the altitude setting like it would if we're doing an ILS and we're locked on the glide slope. So my guess is that we'll want to choose a point when we want to activate the approach phase. And let's say at the initial approach phase, at Munan, let's say we'll activate approach then. At that point I'm going to assume we're going to be free to set altitude to our missed approach altitude. And we can start configuring for landing. And it'll just hold us to the VNAV altitudes all the way down. Final approach checks on the PFD. Got it. Cool, we'll look out for that. So, in terms of what we set the autopilot to, I would say we set it to the 3000 initial approach fix. And let us guide all the way down there, activate the approach mode, and it should continue our descent from there. This is fun, learning something new tonight. Oh, hey, Jim in Texas. Sorry, I just saw your text now on YouTube. I've been very focused on Twitch tonight. Apologies for that. But RNAV approaches aren't live yet. Okay, got it. Well, we're doing one. We have the RNAV for 1.5 left programmed in, and it seems the data seems to be there. But we'll see how it flies it. At Nopin. Sorry, Rasco, is that a waypoint? Oh, gotcha. At the final approach fix. That makes sense. That would make sense. Okay, so when we approach the final approach fix, we'll look out for a final approach on the PFD. But we'll stick with our plan of activating the approach at Munan on the initial approach fix. Yeah, it has our speeds as well, which is interesting. How does that correspond to our approach speed? So like the final approach speed is 146. Sorry, approach speed is 131. F speed is 146. Yeah, so there's 131. Which corresponds to our approach. So it's in effect also kind of recommending like when we configure 208.188.146. Yeah, there it is. Alright, where are we? Alright, let's say about 100 miles from top descent. Do a customary VATSIM check. Oh, it got pretty quiet on VATSIM. Shame, we're now the only plane flying in Korea. And Jeju ground is online still, but approach shut down. Oh, but Fiji's online. That's fun. All right. Alright, so we're picking up our VORs. Has our decel point on the base leg, looks like. Alright, outer tank fuel transferred. Taking a look at fuel prediction. Yeah, it's back to where it was. I think it was just when we were going through that turbulence, the throttle was a little all over the place, so maybe it was getting a little confused. But this looks like how it looked when we left. In fact, a little bit better. Enjoying the livery here. Love looking at the little details. See the ground reflected in the fuselage. Look at that, so cool. All right. Confirming the information here, we have our minimums, RNAV 15 left. So Jim, if you're still on there, we were having trouble choosing an approach. There were a number of approaches that just didn't have data, but this one happened to. So I'm assuming the fly-by-wire guys are still filling in the gaps. Not all approaches are available, that's for sure. So I'm not sure if I'd be ready to fly the experimental version on an active night on VATSIM where you'd have to follow ATC instructions, because you might be in a position where you'd have to be like unable, unable, unable. Or just be ready to program in the approach yourself, fix by fix. Which doesn't sound too fun. Any plane I'd like to see in MSFS? Good question, Rasco. So when I actually get to training for my PPL in real life, I'm hell-bent on training in a Cirrus. And the SR-22 is available in the sim, but it's like the Asobo stock plane. Like it is not study level, and the model is not fantastic. So I'd love to see a like pay-wear or fully custom, fully modeled Cirrus SR-22, or probably an SR-20 in the sim, because you'd likely train in the 20. They probably wouldn't throw you in the 22 at first. But right now this is my favorite because it's the most realistic. Yeah, X-Plane does have a good Cirrus model. But I'm not training yet, so if I were, I'd probably be more inclined to download it now. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. So it has us doing a pretty tight turn. Probably because we're moving so fast, we're not going to be descending until we get to Kakso. But we're basically going to be missing Gukdu completely. Right, this is not the most natural approach, right? Our original star was starting at Ulmen. I might actually just do direct to Gukdu now. Might be too late, but that's a bit better. Yeah. That looks better. Oh, the Q400. I'm not familiar with that plane. Let's see. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And you know what? I think I've been on one of these. I've been on an Alaska Airlines Q400 for sure, and it was fun. I enjoyed that flight. It's not often you see a top wing commercial plane. Yeah, the prop planes are fun. I think I prefer the sound. I like the sound. It kind of reminds me of how airplanes sound in Indiana Jones, and that's like it's a sound I remember very distinctly growing up. Is like what those planes sounded like, and whenever I've flown commercial in a prop plane like that's what it sounds like. Oof. Those are some serious clouds. So, all right, here's a question for anyone who might know. So, top of descent is showing at Kakso. You barely see it there, but the line is there. If I put in managed descent now to our initial approach fix of 3,000, would I stay at 390? Or would it automatically take me down to 18,000? And I think we can test this. Let's plan to test this. Let's say when we're 5 miles out from Kakso. We'll put in 3,000 feet and activate managed descent and see what happens. Yeah, my assumption, I agree parts as well. My assumption is that it would just take us, oh, whoa. What just happened? It put me in heading mode. Why did it put me in heading mode? Why will it not get me out of heading mode? Hold on. Oh, Bug City. That's a bug. It says nav. Okay, that's better. That was weird. Okay, anyway. Let's get 3,000 feet on the glare shield. Yeah, that is definitely what just happened. Went to heading mode by itself. Alright, there's all of our constraints. Alright, when we get 5 miles away, we'll go into managed descent and see what happens. Alright. Here we go. Speed descent. Alt magenta. And we are descending. What's interesting about this though, we're not descending at thrust idle. And there are these magenta bands that are on the speed tape now that I've not seen before.
From the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare for approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated till the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
But it does have our... It is tracking the right restrictions. So the next flight level restriction is at 15,000 feet. So if we get down there, it will stop descending. Well, I did push altitude to descend. I did on my Bravo throttle though, but I basically pushed in the altitude button and it started descending. So it wasn't automatic. And Peralta, I think maybe that's what it's doing. Because let's see, when does it say we'll get to... Well, it's not indicating. We'll actually get to... we went from speed to Mach as well. That also doesn't seem right. Oh, gotcha. So that green dot is telling you if you're high or low. Got it. So we're kind of chasing that green dot on the way down. That's pretty cool. I'm starting to understand why this system is so complicated and why it's taken fly-by-wire teams so long to get it to this point. It is. It's a complex beast. Gonna zoom in on the map a bit, see if you can see more detail. Alright, back to speed. Double check our QNH for arrival. Still 1020. This is the latest. So, since we are technically cleared below transition level, go ahead and go back to local. So let's see, the magenta and the speed tape are the max and min. If you reach max speed and are high, you need speed brake. That is awesome. That's an awesome guide. And now we're on thrust idle. So it's really making like optimizing decisions for you. It doesn't help that it's bumpy on this approach. But I guess, yeah, the flight director is pitching down. I see, he's trying to keep us on that green dot. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure what that little squiggly line indicates. But we're chasing it. Is that possibly when we'll get to the next restriction? So that's probably predicting when we're going to get to 10,000 feet, which will be the next relevant restriction. Oh, Rasco, yeah, the one that was showing up on the ND. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, and it was blue. It kind of looked like yeah, there it is again at the 10-mile marker. So about 10 miles out. I was assuming that's when we get to 10,000 feet, which is the next restriction, but maybe not. Oh, and is there a speed restriction that we didn't capture? Hold on. Check that star again. I'm not seeing one. Got it. All right, thank you for clarifying, Rasco. Appreciate it. I'm really glad you're here. I wouldn't know any of this. Very helpful. I'm guessing this is now indicating we're 3,300 feet above the desired descent profile. Yeah, it's now 3K feet. That's because for whatever reason we leveled off and decelerated to 250 knots. Yeah, it did have a speed restriction programmed in there. I didn't see it on the star though. So let's see what happens now. I might need speed brake. I think you're right. It's still getting away from us. Yeah, Speed brake coming out. I see, yep. Like we want to be at 3,000 by Moonon, but it looks like we'll get there eventually. Speed brakes are fully deployed, but we're barely digging into it. 68, Jesus. Let's see, let's check the progress page. Yeah, flight deviation, there it is. Just as you predicted. There's a lot of deviation to make up for. We're slowly chipping away at it. I'm curious what this amber waypoint stands for. Alright, well let's not lose sight of procedure. Approach checklist, briefings confirmed, ECAM status checked for now. Landing distance confirmed, we'll do low braking. Seatbelts are on. Bow rafts are set, minimums are set, and engine mode will be set to normal. Approach checklist complete. Okay, that blue line is getting closer to us. All right, 10,000 feet. Landing lights on. Alright, so the magenta on the speed tape is gone. And it looks like we're going down to green dot automatically. Haven't activated approach phase yet, I believe. Oh, no, it was all... Oh, interesting. I saw it... Ah, okay, it did activate on its own. Well, I didn't see us passing the decel point. But we'll start configuring just now anyway, and that should help us descend faster. Keep those speed brakes out though until we feel comfortable. Once we're direct moon on. Speed check, flaps 1. Yeah, see, we're about to pass the decel point now, so it felt like that activated early. Speed check, flaps 2. And I guess the approach, we don't really use that for for RNAV approaches, nor would we use the landing system. Interesting. We're still damn high, guys. So if there's no approach phase, then I guess we just bottom out. Incheon traffic EVA 9084 is on 10-mile final for the RNAV approach 15 left. Incheon traffic. Yeah, let's get the gear down. Get as much drag as we possibly can. We may have to do a go around, but we'll do our best. Speed brakes armed. Speed check flaps 3. And flaps full. And now we just pray to God. Oh, God. Yeah, approach is not activating. Yeah. You'd think, but funnily enough, I think we'll be fine. The 1,400 feet descent rate.
$2,500.
Radio altimeter is alive. Doesn't help that the ceilings are 2,000 feet, but... yeah, the approach is activated in the McDo, yes. And my spoilers are armed. Oh, but you know what? My speed brakes are out. That's why it's not armed. Okay. We're back on course. Speed brakes are retracting. I think we're back. I think we're good, guys. Landing checklist. Cabin crews advised. Auto throttles and speed. Auto brake is set to low. ECAM memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Yeah, let me try approach now that we're on the path. And nope. Still does not want to get onto it. Alt constraints. This is very weird to me. Like, I'm so used to being on a constant glide slope. Now we're back in descent. And now we're high on the approach. This is very weird. At this point, I really should deactivate. Alright. We're sinking a bit.
300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Well, I'm just floating. And left to center line. Reverse green, decel. $70 knots. Somehow we still landed it. I don't know if that was... That was damn strange. Yeah, it's possible I was just too high. It is possible. Safely on the ground. We didn't die. So yeah, that was VNAV, or at least the earliest releasable version of it. Incheon traffic, EVA 9084 is clear of runway 15 left. Incheon traffic. Alright, after lane checklists, flaps coming up, speed brakes disarmed, TCAS standby, weather system and wind shear system coming off, APU coming online, 1, 2, 3, lane lights coming off. And after lane checklist is complete. We'll clean these up. Alright. So where did we end up? Charlie 2, we'll head down to Juliet. Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for joining me for that, guys, and I appreciate the help and the insight. It definitely took a village to figure out exactly what was going on with the new VNAV system, so that was much appreciated. So what do you guys think? Not quite ready for prime time, is my guess. I might go back to the development build for a while if I'm going to be flying on VATSIM, but they have made a hell of a lot of progress. There's still snow on the mountains there? That's nuts. And for folks who are new to the channel, thanks for joining us tonight. We're doing a around the world journey. We've just landed in Seoul, South Korea. But next week we'll be taking a break from around the world in the A320neo to start prepping for Cross the Pond, which is happening April 2nd, where we'll be flying from Amsterdam to Boston in the 787-10 using the Heavy Division mod. So we'll be doing some practice flights next week. And for the main event, we'll be raising money for Project Hope to support refugees of the Ukrainian war. So hope you guys will join us for the flight. Hope you guys will support the cause, but if not, just help keep me company for 8 hours. We'll appreciate it. That's April 2nd. We will be taking off at 11 o'clock Zulu. I'll probably come online around 10 o'clock Zulu. Did I miss my turnoff? We're at golf now. I did, but anyway, golf is fine too. And if you want to get updates for when those streams occur, please feel free to hit the follow button or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, thanks Rasco, appreciate it. Hopefully it's not too early for your time zone. I'll be waking up at like 5:30 Eastern time to do Cross the Pond. Alright, make sure no traffic's around. Oh nice, good. Yeah, so I expect to be online that day from about 6 a.m. Eastern Time till about 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Sounds insane when I say that. Alright, so we'll pick one of these stands up here. This is a procedurally generated airport. Hopefully they'll release a handcrafted airport for this sometime soon, because it's huge and it's beautiful. Like, this rendering does not do it justice at all. Ah, my joystick is really sensitive. I think I need to clean the contacts. Giving the people tonight a big ride. Alright, try to get as straight as possible here. Alright, parking brakes engaged, APUs available, bleed is coming on, engines are coming off, seatbelt sign coming off, and let's call that gate. Here it comes, get power. Am I close enough? Will it reach? Perfect. Alright, let's go through our parking checklist, shall we? So we didn't need the electric pump. APU bleed is on, engines are off, seatbelt signs are off, exterior lights. Blinding the poor ground crew. Still have my strobes on too, jeez. Beacons off. Nav and logo can stay on for now. Fuel pumps. Don't need you guys anymore. Let's see how much fuel we ended up with. Is it about what we expected? More than what we expected. More than what we needed. That is fine. Alright. What else do we need to do? Parking brake is on. Parking checklist is complete. Alright, so now let's go about securing the aircraft. So we can turn the IRSs off. Crew supply can come off. We can start turning down these integrated lights. External power is available. So we'll switch over to the GPU and we'll assume folks are deplaned. We'll get the APU bleed off and we'll get the APU spun down. Start shutting down our lights. And I think that should do it for the overhead for now. And turn down these screens. It's only 11 o'clock. I'll actually get to bed early tonight. Look at that. VOR's off. Get the glare shield down. About 2 hours of engine time tonight. Alright, get our radios off. And that looks just about good to me. Fly pad can come off at this point. I think the APU is still running, but we'll let it spool down. Nav and logo lights off. Yeah, so I think at this point we'll call it a night. I'll sign it off. Thank you guys for joining us as we tried the VNAV, the latest release of the experimental version of the fly-by-wire A320. It was a fun trip, lots to figure out, lots they got right, lots they still need to work on. As long as I'm flying VATSIM, I'll probably go back to the dev build for now and fly ILS approaches wherever I can. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun to try out that new feature and also test out a few other things like the latest NVIDIA graphics driver, which seemed to run fine, and my new overclocking settings for the Ryzen CPU I have here, and to talk about Across the Pond, which I'm really excited about. So there goes the APU. We'll get external power off, turn off the batteries, back to cold and dark, finish with an external shot of this lovely Taiwanese EVA Air livery. And yeah, hope to see you next time. Safe travels to wherever your travels may take you. Hit that follow button. Have a good night, everyone.